Very special guest on the pod. We have Orion Cosce. He's fighting Gilbert Urbina on May 20th at UFC Fight Night. Let's get right into the video. So we have like a lot of like I guess like high school and like middle school athletes that watch this. So how'd you get into like MMA of all the sport?
Mm, I grew up always liking sports. I grew up as an athlete, made sure my schoolwork was done, but definitely want to do something when it came to athletics. And I just remember growing up wrestling all the time. And then whenever my brother and I were at our, our dad's friend's house watching the UFC fights or the early Pride fights, we'd always just put on the boxing gloves, start strapping. So, we just always liked fighting.
Yeah, was there like a moment where you thought like this could be a career for you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Back in high school, I definitely wanted to do something with more like collegiate wrestling or even like college football.
Mhm.
But you- at D1, D2 levels, they're at the same time. And so it was kind of like I had to make a choice. And I wanted to wrestle, but when I was going to Oregon State, they had my classes set at the exact same time as during the practices. So pretty much I got screwed on that end of the stick. And so I decided, you know what, I'm done with the whole entire college sports. I'll just get right into fighting. Because my
Yeah.
brother, he already that time. So I said, fuck it, I'm gonna go fight.
Oh, no, that's awesome. So then you were on Dana White's like Contender series. I want to talk about what was that experience like being on that?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, honestly. It was definitely bigger than anything we ever did at the time, and to be able to do it together on the same card was definitely a huge plus. I definitely think it influenced the way that we looked at the sport as a whole, especially with the whole entire aspect of like the cameras are right there on you versus I was used to maybe having cameras like film me walking into the cage, staying outside the cage. But then, you have to do all like the makeup, like to get
Yeah,
ready, not for the fight, but like for the interviews.
yeah,
Um, just walking out to the cage, they're right there in your face. So you got to make sure you don't trip on those wires.
yeah.
And having that is a whole different aspect to it as well, but I've gotten used to it.
Yeah. Do you think like having like the Contender series and stuff like that, it's really like helped grow, UFC to what it is and what it can become more, I guess?
Yeah, we've seen how in most sports people want more.
Yeah.
People love sports. So having more fights all year round, it definitely helps out.
Yeah. So when you're like running a camp, like how do you run your camp? Because I know you're a personal trainer. Like, how does that work in with your schedule and different things?
I just make my schedule work around my training.
Uh-huh.
So I'll train 2 or 3 times a day, and then I'll make sure I train about 4 or 5 clients a day. And then sometimes I'm fortunate enough to where sometimes my clients want to train with me. So it just depends on all what's going on um,
Yeah.
and what for that set day.
Yeah. So I know there was a thing back where it was like with your weight. So like, what is your like diet when you're cutting, and like what weight do you like walk around when you're like for a fight?
Typically, I like to walk around like 2 months out, about 195 to 200.
Mhm.
A lot of strength and conditioning. That way, I can like increase my muscle mass and my endurance. But one of the things about increasing your muscle is also it makes it harder for the weight cut, right? So
Yeah.
I changed my diet a little. With that last weight cut too, though, that one sucked. I got that COVID shot a couple of months before,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was just getting sick on and off. So I was fortunate to be able to fight. But even after that fight, I got sick for like a lot. Like I was maybe sick 3 days out of the week, almost every week or every other week.
You were on like the Nunez Pena card. I imagine that was probably an insane experience. Can you talk about your fight with Mike Diamond?
Yeah, it was a fun experience. I was just more so focused on like trying to get that weight cut because, like I said, I didn't feel bad during the weight cut. It was just the fact that the weight wasn't coming off, so I knew something was wrong.
Hmm.
And then I ended up missing by that pound and a half, and the recovery was bad. Everything was bad. So I just told myself, I'm not pulling out because they almost my manager and the doctors they
Yeah.
wanted to pull me out. Hey, this guy's body shutting down. I was like, nah, like let me recover. And I didn't fully recover. I was still feeling like shit, but I
Yeah.
mean, I went through all work, all that training, and so did he. And that was the third time we've had that fight, and it wasn't like I wanted to get postponed. I'm already there in Dallas, so I just told myself, go out there, do your best.
Yeah, and I saw like a lot of during that, like you really weren't able to sleep, and like there were just a lot of things that were going into all that to add to diversity. Yes.
Yeah, man, I was puking and shitting my guts out right after the weight cut. I literally whatever I took in, it was coming right out violently, and then my body was starting to shut down. I had to put myself in a hot shower because my body temperature was dropping, and then I had to turn it down to a cold shower because instead of like warming up, it was just making it drop. So I just turned on the cool shower to try to force my body to increase its temperature. And then, yeah, just kind of pretty much just slept a lot after that and tried to recover the best I could. But yeah, no, this next time I'll be a lot better. I was actually sick for the most of the holidays, and I wanted to fight in January, February, but that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to fight next month.
Yeah. So you're fighting on May 20th, right? So like, what's your expectation for the fight?
To go out there and dominate. I want to be out there fully healthy. I mean, the last two fights that I've had, nerve damage in one with neck injury, and then after that recovered, I've been, sick and with another fight. And yeah, no, this time I'm gonna go in and well,
Yeah.
all glory to God, hopefully have a full 100% healthy body going into this fight. I haven't had 100% healthy body since I fought what's his name on Contender series.
Yeah. So you're everything you're talking about is like it's different adversity. I guess you have to like go through. Like, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself through going through all this?
I just keep pushing, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to keep doing it, you got to find a way to do it, right? So that's all I can say.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I know I saw you're a Raiders fan. And are you a Kings fan?
I don't really care about basketball. I remember when Kobe died. I can tell you the exact like where I was and all that stuff when he died. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with basketball. But I'm happy for all my family and friends that are Kings fans. I know that they're going to be watching the game here, and I'll probably end up watching it with them. Either that or like that way I can go enjoy the day. Like it's nice weather out here right now, so I'll probably just go for a hike or something.
Yeah, so you watched the draft, I assume. So like, what were your thoughts on the draft for the Raiders?
I like some of the picks. I really like the first two picks that we have.
Yeah,
After that, kind of don't understand why we drafted a receiver when we don't need a receiver. I get he's a speed guy, but hopefully he proves me wrong.
yeah,
But I also think that there's a possibility that he's 5'8". He's a speedster, but that kind of reminds me of like Hunter Renfro in a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's there to replace Hunter Renfro. The QB decision, I know Purdue fans like him, but I'm a
yeah,
Michigan Green fan, so I can tell you right now, we fucking that guy's not that good. But
yeah. I can tell I'm a Buckeye fan, so
yeah,
I've seen Purdue fair share.
yeah, I was gonna say he really isn't that good of a quarterback, but then again, no quarterback's gonna be good when you don't have a good offensive line. I mean, take a look at Josh Allen. It took him what 2 years for the Bills to build him an offensive line,
Yeah,
and for him to playbook in that schematic that they teach, and he just came out and dominated. So, I mean, we got rid of Derek Carr
yeah.
for version of Derek Carr from the Niners, and then just picked up another version of Derek Carr from Purdue. So I'm not really sure what the point of getting rid
With
of Derek
yeah,
was.
yeah. There's really no point. And then you guys could have got Keeley Ringo. I saw you tweet about that too.
Dude, don't
He's a
even get me
dog.
don't even get me started on that. He was right there.
Yeah,
But again, there's a couple of people like Moss out of Iowa.
yeah,
He's a quarterback. I wanted him, but it is what it is. That's why I'm a fighter. I'm not in the back of the UFC or the NFL office trying to help determine what players are the best. But it is what it is. Hopefully, this office and management that we have for the Raiders can help turn this team around because last year pissed me off.
yeah. I'm a Browns fan, so I'm used to this stuff by now. So I got two more questions. I always do this. So that you had a fight in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Do you remember that fight? What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so that was one of my first fights. So Stevens Point is a small little town in Wisconsin. And it's not a bad little one either, but can't remember. Is Stevens Point my first pro fight or is that my second?
I think that was your second. It was against Izzy Williams. You remember that? You had a
No.
TKO
Oh,
in the
yeah.
first round.
That was my first pro
It
fight. I
was?
took my boy Tom Fallon went out there with me. Um Yeah, I know. We got there. The food was okay. Everyone told us like after like the weight cut to go and try like the custard and the sushi. And I was like, I don't know about the sushi.
Yeah.
But the sushi came like from fish from the lake. They're all just try the salmon and that's pretty much what you want to try. And I was like, all right, I'll stick with that then. But yeah, small little town is pretty cool. A lot of good nature out there. They keep their parks really, really clean. And you can
Yeah.
tell like a lot of animals out there.
Yeah.
Deers and stuff, they'll kind of walk up to you because they're not really too scared. Because they're all protected in those parks, which is actually a kind of interesting thing. But yeah, I definitely remember that fight. Went out there. That was the first round. Split his head open with a right elbow, and then I followed it up, and I actually ended up splitting my elbow open too on his head. So
Really? That's
yeah,
cool.
as he was getting stitches, I was getting stitches, but I felt bad. I was like, damn. Well, I mean, that's the fight game, so yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah. So last question. We always ask you like finish off. So like when your career is over down the line, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a guy who goes out there and just puts on a performance for everybody. I definitely want to, retire as a champion or a former champion, however it works out. I'm not going to sit here and say I'll never lose. I mean, I already have one loss.
Yeah.
Uh, I just got to be smart about when I take those fights. Am I fully healthy? Am I, recovered and stuff like that? But there's no excuses for the loss or the missed weight cut. I just got to get that shit done. That's the name of the game at any professional level. You just got to get your shit handled. So that's what I had to do. Figure out ways to work around those mistakes and errors learned. That's all it is, mistakes and errors, and you learn from them. You become a better person, a better athlete from them. So I definitely want to go down as one of those guys people talk about, they remember, but I also could care less. I mean, as long as, I got kids looking up to me and looking at me like a role model, I'm just going to do what I can to make sure that I support them the best I can because I remember being a kid and wanting to look up to certain role models, but never being able to meet too many of them.
Mhm.
But when I go school because all my little cousins or like all their little friends, like, oh man, you're the fighter, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. And they're all, we want a photo. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it feels cool,
Yeah.
but I like being able to teach them a little bit about like wrestling or boxing, why it's important to keep the grades up, and not to make a lot of the mistakes that most people are making nowadays, especially with like most youth. They're easily persuaded
Yeah.
by today's media influences like
Yeah.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff with these different challenges. And they think that, the next trend is the way to go. But it's like, nah, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever. Make sure you be yourself. If all your friends are making fun of you because you're not following the new trend, they're not really your friends. Like you
Yeah.
got to think about that. So
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I'll be watching on May 20th. Me and my buddies every Saturday go to a bar. We watch the fights. So I'll be
there you go.
rooting for you then. So I appreciate it and stay in touch and hope to have you on sometime soon.
Yep. After this fight, I'll try to make sure my schedule's open. I usually do about 2 days where I don't talk to anybody, unless I have to. So,
Yeah.
but hopefully this time I don't have to talk to anybody the day after, just because I'm gonna be on the flight back home super early in the
Yeah.
morning, right? Flight, and then pretty much right back to training, and then hopefully go and hit like disc golf or golf or even
Yeah.
the lake.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it
But
again. And, thank you.
yep. Hey, thank you, Luke, for having me. Take care, and hopefully you guys end up watching me with another victory to keep the streak going.